Hi everyone and welcome to Moementum channel. Today we are going to take a look how you can project the amount of dividend that you're going to earn in a calendar year. Before we start, I would like to remind you that dividend is a money that a company or exchange traded fund or even a bond pays to the shareholders on different intervals, whether it is monthly, quarterly, biannually, or sometimes annually. It is also worth mentioning that just because you've received dividend income in the past, there is no guarantee that the same dividends would be received in future. That being said, if a company or business has continuously paid a dividend income in the past, it is a fair assumption that you would receive similar types of dividends in future. I will be sharing with you a tool that you can use yourself to interactively project and calculate the amount of dividends that you can expect in this calendar year. So let's get into it. The very first step for us to project how much income we can expect from a dividend paying stock, exchange traded fund, or bond is look back at the past and the historic records to see how much dividend they've paid in the past. One very good website that you can refer to find out about past dividend payments is the Morningstar. Let me walk you through this process. As you can see, you could go to morningstar.com. At the top of the page, there's a section where you can search for the ticker symbol of your bond, exchange traded fund, or even your stock. For instance, if you own the shares of Apple company, I'm going to type the ticker symbol for Apple, which is AAPL. Apple. I click on it and the Morningstar is going to load for me here different details associated with this stock and a number of different details about this stock. What I'm particularly interested in is the dividends. So I will scroll over dividends tab and click on it. Now here you can see the history of dividend payments for Apple stock. You will notice how Apple has historically increased its dividends and has continuously paid dividends over the years on a quarterly basis. In order for us to project how much you can expect from this stock in future, I usually tend to use the past 1 year payments of dividends as a good projection for future payments of dividends for this stock. So for instance, for Apple, they've paid quarterly their dividends in 2019 for the amounts of 73 cents US and 77 US dollars over the past 3 quarters. You could also see what their next projected payment of dividends would be, which is again the same amount as 77 cents US dollars per share. Now here's where we would go back to the interactive tool that we have. Currently on this interactive tool, I'm keeping track of different exchange traded funds that I personally own and projected dividends that I anticipate from them based on the dividend payout in 2019. For instance, for VTI or Vanguard Total Stock exchange traded funds, I own 41 shares, and in 2019 they have paid these amounts of dividends that you can see on the screen. This interactive tool will add up the entire dividends paid out for the calendar year, and you could see the total dividends paid out for VTI in 2019 was $2.91 USD. Similarly, I've been keeping track of my other exchange traded funds and the dividend paid out for them in 2019. Depending on the quantity, if for example I change the amount of quantity of this exchange traded funds to a different number, let's say over time, if I buy more shares of VTI and round up this number to 50, you could see how my overall dividend paid out and estimate is changing, and also how my anticipated dividend income is growing. I would undo this because this is the total amount that I currently own of this share. One thing you can do, you can simply replace any of these example exchange traded funds with any of the stocks that you own. So let's say if you buy the shares of Apple, ticker symbol can be, for example, AAPL. The quantity that I own would be, for example, I bought 2 shares of Apple. I would do that and I would go ahead and update the dividend paid out for my shares accordingly. So if I scroll back, you could see for Apple, they paid you a dividend in February for 73 cents. So I would update this to 0.73 and I would delete, of course, the months that I have not received. So 73 cents, then 77 cents in May every quarter. 77 cents. The next one was in August, 77 cents. And lastly, the next one, I believe, was in November. So I would put it at 77 cents again. This way, you would have an updated total dividend of $3.04. And if you own 2 shares of Apple, your total dividend earned for that year would be $6.01. Now let's take a look what happens if we increase the amount of shares that we own of that stock. So for Apple, if I own 15 shares, the interactive tool will calculate automatically what would be the projected dividend estimate for us in 2020 based on 2019 actual dividend paid out. While Morningstar is a great website where you can find the majority of exchange traded funds, bonds, or different stocks, sometimes they may not have the details for the different asset classes that are traded on Canadian Stock Exchange. For that, I use a different website called TMXMoney.com. So if I go to TMXMoney.com, at the top there's this option for you to search for different symbols. So for example, if I search for a company called TELUS, stock symbol T. The difference here is that if you put this stock symbol T on Morningstar, it thinks that you're looking for AT&T, which is listed on the American Stock Exchange, whereas for TELUS, it is listed on Toronto Stock Exchange, and therefore you can use TMXMoney.com. So I find TELUS and I hit search. There you have it. You can find the company TELUS Corporation. Again, similar concept. Here I would scroll down and find the dividends tab. I will click on it to get the details about the past dividend paid out for the TELUS company. If you scroll down, again, you could notice that in 2019 there were 4 payments, quarterly basis, and the amounts are displayed here for your attention. Similar concept, you could again go back, you can see in March, you could go back to one of the CAD investments, Canadian investment, and you can replace any of the example ones with your intended stock, ETF, or bond. So for example, let's update this. I'm going to put TELUS. And for example, I have 5 shares of TELUS, and the payments were in March, we had 0.545. And similarly, in the other consecutive months, we had 5625. Again, 5625. And lastly, for December, we had a payment of 5825. There you have it. If you have 5 shares of TELUS, your total paid out in 2019 was actually equal to $11.30, which is a fair enough projection for the 2020 year. Again, keep in mind, these numbers may change whether the company decides to increase, decrease, or even stop their dividends. But if they have continuously paid out dividends over the past several years, it is a fair assumption that your expected dividends for the projected year, let's say in 2020, is somewhat within the same range. I will be sure to put a link to this interactive tool in the description, which you can easily and for free download it and use it for your own purposes. If you're interested about investing in financial freedom, be sure to check out some of the other videos that we post on this channel. On Moementum, we post weekly different videos related to investing, financial freedom, and personal development. If you gained something of this value, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.